because I think for this, particularly for this, the where do we are? Where do we are? Where of the rings of power and the third age? It is literally a less than 30 pages. Okay, okay.
Oh,
Page.
that's probably why they did so much to it.
Here we go. Of the rings of power and the third age, in which these tales come to their end. Of old
Okay.
there was Sauron the Maya, whom the Sindar in Beleriand named Gorthar. In the beginning of Arda, Melkor seduced him, so he was also seduced. So this is classic, like I was, what do you call it? I was abused, so now I'm the abuser.
Ah, yeah.
Melkor seduced him to
Yeah.
his allegiance, and he became the greatest and most trusted of the servants of the enemy, capital E, and the most perilous, for he could assume many forms. Ah, there we have the changing of forms, see? And for long,
Yeah.
if he willed, he could still appear noble and beautiful. Does he look noble and beautiful now? I guess he does. So as to
Yeah.
deceive all but the most wary. When Thangorod,
That's probably why I was confused, I think.
because he looks pretty now.
Because, no, well, other than that, but because I assumed that he can change forms. And the first time
Okay.
he changed form, I don't think he was, I think he was a completely different actor at one point, right?
In the first episode of this
And
season, they
so,
chose a different actor. Yes.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I just assumed that they did the same here as well, I
Right.
think. And it looked really different.
But
And he's supposed to shapeshift. So I honestly, I thought I didn't really look well at those at those elves that died and he took form off of. So I was like, oh, probably it's the same actor of one of those elves that
no.
have been killed, and he did the shapeshifty thing.
The only reason they're not
I
gonna
think that's what happened.
the only reason they're not gonna do that is because of Hollywood reasons. Like they cast him to be the lead.
Okay.
This guy got cast to be the
Okay.
lead, so they're not going to replace him. So that's not happening.
I see.
That's the real reason.
Okay.
Now, you could say the other reason is that when he changed in the beginning, it's because he died. They killed him, and so he had to find a new form. This time, nobody killed him. He just transforms.
Right. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
But Sauron is known to be a shapeshifter, so that's fine. When Thangorodrim was broken and Morgoth overthrown, this is from the first stage, Sauron put on his fair hue again and did obeisance to Enwe, the herald of Manwë, and abjured all his evil deeds. So he repented before the archons of this world. And some hold that this was not at first falsely done, but that Sauron in truth repented, if only out of fear, being dismayed by the fall of Morgoth and the great wrath of the lords of the West. But it was not within the power of Eonwe to pardon those of his own order. So I guess he belongs to the gods that go under Manwë, and Manwë would be like Manwë would be like the Venti of this world. To try to give you
Okay, yeah.
not literally Venti, but animal god.
No, I get it. Okay,
Um,
yeah.
being dismayed by the fall of Morgoth and the great. Okay. And he commanded Sauron to return to Aman and there receive the judgment of Manwë. Then Sauron was ashamed, and he was unwilling to return in humiliation and to receive from the Valar a sentence, it might be, of long servitude in proof of his good faith, for under Morgoth his power had been great. Therefore, when Eonwë departed, he hid himself in Middle-earth, and he fell back into evil, for the bonds that Morgoth had laid upon him were very strong. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Are we following? Are
Mm-hmm.
we following that so far? Are we
Yes.
understanding him?
We are.
In the great
Yeah, pretty
in
much.
the great battle, which is from the first age, and the tumults of the fall of Thangorodrim, there were mighty convulsions in the earth, and Beleriand was broken and laid waste, and northward and westward many lands sank beneath the waters of the great sea. In the east, in Osiriand, which is where we are right now, technically, right, like literally where Celebrimbor is, the walls of Ered Luin were broken, and a great gap was no, excuse me, no, I'm wrong. This is Osiriand is
Oh,
where we have Círdan and Elrond, which is now underwater.
oh.
Sorry,
Okay.
totally fucked up there.
That's okay, don't worry.
The walls of Ered Luin were
Happens.
broken, and a great gap was made in them towards the south, and a gulf of the sea flowed in. Into that gulf the river Lune fell by a new course, and it was called therefore the Gulf of Lune. That country had of old been named Lindon by the Noldor, and this name it bore thereafter, and many of the Eldar still dwelt there, lingering, unwilling yet to forsake Beleriand, where they had fought and labored long. Gil-galad, you know who that is, right? The dude with
Oh,
the
yep.
okay. Son of Fingon was their king, and with him was Elrond, half elven, son of Erendil, the mariner, and brother of Elros, first king of Numenor. So we know this shit so far.
Yeah, I remember the story.
Upon the shores of the Gulf of Lune, the elves built their havens and named them Miflund. And there they held many ships, for the harborage was good. From the grey havens the Eldar ever and anon set sail, fleeing from the darkness of the days of earth. For by the mercy of the Valar, the firstborn could still follow the straight road and return, if they would, to their kindred in Erysia and Valinor beyond the encircling seas. The elves are also called the firstborn. Others of the Eldar is the elvish word for the race of the elves. There were
Oh, okay.
who crossed the mountains of Ered Luin in that age and passed into the inner lands. Many of these were Teleri. Teleri are the ones that I told you that never went to Aman. Survivors of Doriath and
Mm-hmm.
Osiriand, and they established the realms among the Sylvan elves in woods and mountains far from the sea, for which nonetheless they ever yearned in their hearts. Only in Eregion, this is where we are now. This is Eregion, which men called
Okay.
okay. This is Eregion, and the
Mm-hmm.
men called Eregion Hollin. Holland sounds very Netherlandish, or is it me? Very Dutch. Sounds like Holland.
Yes. Yeah, it
Like
sounds
sounds like Holland.
sounds yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Sounds like Holland.
Did elves only in Eregion did elves of Noldorin race establish a lasting realm beyond the Ered Luin. Eregion was nigh to the great mansions of the dwarves, who are here present, that were named Khazad Dûm, which is where they're from, by but by the elves
Dun dun
of
dun.
but by the elves Khazad Dûm was called Hadodrond and afterwards Moria. From Ost in Idil, the city of the elves, I think this is the city that we're in right now. The high road ran to the west gate of
Mm-hmm.
Khazad-dûm. I mean, I could be wrong. For a friendship arose between dwarves and elves. Okay, such as has never elsewhere been, to the enrichment of both these peoples. So there is kind of a like we're seeing here. They do have a relationship, in that they kind of have something similar in mind, right? In a region, the
Mm-hmm.
craftsmen of the Gwaith y Myrdain, which means the people of the jewel smiths, surpassed in cunning all that have ever wrought, save only Feanor himself. And indeed, greatest in skill among them was. Do we know
Dun
the?
dun
Do you
dun.
know the name? Do you know the what's the name? What's the name of Big Ear dude?
The Celebrimbor.
Okay, yes, you pass.
See, I
Celebrimbors.
remember things.
Oh my God, I'm impressed. Son of Curufin, who was estranged from his father and remained in Nargothrond when Celagorm and Curufin were driven forth, as is told in the Quenta Silmarillion.
Quinta
Elsewhere,
Silmarillion.
Quenta. Elsewhere in Middle-earth there was peace for many years, yet the lands were for the most part savage and desolate, save only where the people of Beleriand came. Many elves dwelt there indeed, as they had dwelt through the countless years, wandering free in the wide lands far from the sea. But they were Avari, which is another word for Teleri, um, to whom the deeds of
That's funny.
Why?
Avari in,
What is that?
in Italian, it means they were greedy.
Ah,
Funny.
incidentally, I'm not sure if they were greedy, but yeah, it is. But they were Avari, to whom the deeds of Beleriand were but a rumor, and Valinor only a distant name. So they're like wild elves, like really, really wild. Like they're like, I don't know what the equivalent is in Italy, actually. I can't think of it. But here it would be like rednecks, maybe. Like just living out in the country. They don't really know what's going on in the city or anybody. Or you know what? More like you ever heard of the Amish? They're like the Amish.
Oh yeah,
more like the Amish. And in the south and in the further east men multiplied. And most of them turned to evil, for Sauron was at work. Seeing the desolation of the world, Sauron said in his heart that the Valar, having overthrown Morgoth, had again forgotten Middle-earth, and his pride grew apace. He looked with hatred on the Eldar, and he feared the men of Númenor who came back at whiles in their ships to the shores of Middle-earth. But for long he dissembled his mind and concealed the dark designs that he shaped in his heart. Men he found the easiest to sway of all the people of the earth, but long he sought to persuade the elves to his service. For he knew that the firstborn had the greater power, and he went far and wide among them, and his hue was still that of one both fair and wise. So that's why mullet over, Jesus, that woman. And that's why, does he look fair to you? Does he look, what did I say? Fair and wise?
Fair and wise. Fair and wise.
That's what he's supposed to, there you go.
He definitely, I mean, I think. Wise, I don't know.
You're like, I think.
Fair, sure.
Only to,
I mean.
only to Lindon.
You know?
Okay. Only to Lindon he did not come. Where's Lindon? Did we forget? So here's a weird thing.
Earlier.
Technically, Lindon is by the Grey Havens. It's one and the same. I'm confused about that. They made it sound like it's by the shore, but so is the Grey Havens. So is it part of the same kingdom? I think it is, but I can't check on the computer because I don't want to lose the recording. Only to Lindon he did not come, for Gil-galad and Elrond doubted him. So here we see, remember, Elrond doubts him. But it says Gil-galad too. So they knew of him. They knew who he was. He wasn't a mysterious character. They knew who he was. They seen him around, and they're like, dude, you better not come around my house. I don't want to see you here.
Oh,
but there was no mystery. Have you heard?
Take him out.
Have you heard Galadriel mentioned once yet? No.
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 None.
Doubted him?
She was doing her thing.
She was doing her thing with her man. She had a man. She was like, "Hey, we're gonna go to La Florida." Okay.
We gonna be besties.
Yeah, we're gonna have a daughter. I think it's a daughter. Anyway, for Gil-galad and Elrond doubted him and his fair seeming, meaning the fact that he looked. They looked at him like they looked at this, what you're seeing, and they were like, I don't know about him.
Yeah, he looked a bit too fair and wise.
And though they knew not who in truth he was, so they didn't know who he was, they would not admit him to that land. So, see what I'm talking about? Like, they were like, you look like someone that could potentially be a problem, so we don't even want you here. Just stay the fuck
Yeah,
out.
like, can we
But elsewhere,
not thank you?
can we not? But elsewhere, the elves received him gladly, and few among them hearkened to the messengers from Lindon, bidding them beware. For Sauron took to himself the name of